Getaway Day. As always, I am Mason. He is Gautam. We are live here on Twitch for the last of our division previews. Now, if you go and look on YouTube or Spotify or Google Podcasts or whatever, you'll be counting them and go 1, 2, 3, 4. This is only one. Clearly, we don't care about one of the divisions. And you're right. I don't care about the American League Central, but we already recorded and posted it. So that's a bad argument. No, as we've talked a couple times now over the last few weeks, we had some major technical difficulties when it came to the National League East preview. And we've been trying to figure out how to rectify that. And I think our answer is that we're going to do a mega East Division debate. Combine them into one preview, because otherwise it's just not going to be all that fun because we've already done all the other stuff. So, Gautam, first of all, how are you doing?
I am doing great. Looking forward to the Mega East debate. And yeah, it's going to be fun.
All right. So, for those of you who don't necessarily know how this is going to work, have you ever talked to a debate club nerd? We're doing what they do. So, I am going to represent the National League East. Gautam is going to represent the American League East. We have a couple of topics, and we have to convince each other and you why our division is better. There will be time for rebuttal, so we will get to trash each other's comments, which means Gautam's going to trash a lot of the stupid stuff I say, and I'm totally on board with it. So I think I'm just going to throw this over to you. I'm going to let you lead the debate here. And
Okay. Sounds
let's do it.
good. So, yeah, you set us up really well for this, but I'll just go through the various criteria that we picked out to debate today. So, first, we're going to talk about overall talent level in the divisions, then star power, the best team from each of the divisions going head to head, and then young players within the divisions, and then playoff potential. So that's the rundown. We're going to start at the top with overall talent level. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
I will go first here.
All right.
So I think it's pretty darn obvious here that the National League East is clearly the most talented division of the two. You look these rosters up and down, and yeah, you get down to the Marlins, and there's not a whole lot there as far as hitters are concerned. But I think this division is kind of undervalued as far as how many top level players and superstars this division has. Like, we all know about the Phillies with Bryce, with JT Realmuto, with Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler. These guys that are like the best of their division or of their positions. In the Braves, I mean, we've talked about the Braves for years now and locking down all their elite players, locking down Acuna long term, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, and Sean Murphy. Like, we're basically, there's 4 to 5 great players per team, it feels, for the top 3 of this division. Now, this offseason, the Mets have brought in a lot of big players, namely Juan Soto. And he is probably the most talented hitter in baseball. And so just bringing in the talent of a Juan Soto and taking it away from the American League East where he was last year, I think just helps solidify this division being the more talented division. Because the Mets have Lindor, they have Soto, they have Power Pete and Francisco Alvarez, who I think is one of the best young catchers in the game. And I haven't even talked about pitching other than Wheeler and Nola, but this is a division that has been kind of dominated by pitching the last few years as well. The Marlins have Sandy Alcantara and some other good young guys like that. You got Kodai Senga and Clay Holmes for the Mets. It's very hard for me to look at these rosters and say, this is not the most star studded division in the league. I take that back. Most star studded out of the Eastern divisions. The National League West exists.
Okay, so do I do the rebuttal now, or do I just go into my?
I think let's do your rebuttal first
Okay, okay. So
because I left you a
I
lot
mean,
to work with.
yes. So for overall talent level in the NL East, I feel that they're really the overall level is really dragged down by the Marlins and the Nationals. Nationals are definitely an up and coming team, but they're still full of holes throughout their roster, especially on their pitching staff. Um, they didn't go out this offseason and get like a front end top of line starter. So they're left with guys like Trevor Williams and guys that haven't really proven themselves. They've got potential like a Mackenzie Gore and a DJ Hers. Like these guys could be really good pitchers down the line, but right now they're well below average. And then I haven't even gotten to the Marlins. You mentioned Sandy Alcantara and some other really good pitchers. Like, who might those guys be? These are the
I
Marlins.
gotta remember who's hurt right now because that's kind of the key. Because Yuri
I think
Perez is hurt and Braxton Garrett are hurt, and both of those guys I do really like.
they are pretty good. Yeah.
Edward Cabrera, I do think has the potential to break out and be a like a legit number 2 or number 3, something that the Marlins don't have right now. They have Sandy and everyone else is hurt that could be that. I think Edward Cabrera is going to be the guy that I'm looking at this year to step up and take over one of those spots. Um, because both, let's see. So Yuri Perez had Tommy John under a year ago. So best case scenario, he's like July, I assume, when he
Yeah.
comes back. Braxton
I would say
Garrett
so.
was a
He's out
UCL
for the year.
revision surgery here this offseason. So
Yeah.
he's not going to play this year. So there is going to have to be some steps forward taken here by Edward Cabrera, by a Max Meyer. I'm not really looking at Cal Quantrill to do anything other than just hold a spot, and kind of the same with Ryan Weathers. But
Yeah. But you're proving my point here. The Marlins are not good. And we haven't even talked about the offense yet,
yeah, no,
which
I
is really,
specifically said that there wasn't anything on the offense for the Marlins.
yeah. But I think it's worth noting just like the situation they're in. They're kind of in the early stages of their rebuild, to be honest. And if you look around their starting lineup, you see like a Xavier Edwards, and he's kind of an interesting player, probably a pretty solid player, but he may not even be on the next good Marlins team. And then if you look anywhere else, they don't have big league talent. Maybe you have like a guy like Connor Norby who ends up being uh, a utility guy or like maybe a regular, but I don't see a whole lot of high potential guys in the current Marlins, and that's by design because they're not shooting for 2025. They're shooting for years down the line. So
So I guess we haven't got to your main argument, but counterpoint the Rays. Like the Rays don't exactly have all that much like high level superstar talent outside of a Shane McClanahan.
I guess I'm separating this topic of just overall talent level
Okay,
outside of the
gotcha.
star power.
Okay, gotcha. Maybe that's where I was a little bit confused there because, yeah, this division does have its struggles. I would agree with you with the Nationals as well. The Nationals, I look at and I think I see some of their upside, and I think this is going to be a significantly improved team this year. And so I'm not going to necessarily say that it's an untalented team. I think that you're going to see a James Wood, a Dylan Cruz, a CJ Abrams, I think you're going to see them take another step. And CJ Abrams, we saw the beginning of last year, he looked incredible. Second half, not so much. I think as these guys age, we're going to start to see who they really are. And I think that these guys are those high talent players. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
kind
and
of
in
the
that
other
case,
part that I'm jumping
yeah,
in on.
and I think that the overall talent level of the division sort of hinges on those Nationals guys taking the next step because those are the unproven commodities of the
Yeah.
division.
And your
They
Mackenzie
certainly have
Gore,
the
your DJ Hers, same thing.
yeah, they can do it. We're just not there yet. So that's why I think we can't say that the NL East has the better overall talent level.
All right. So convince me on the American League East because I'm not
Okay.
buying it right now.
Okay. You're not buying it. So
No.
the
Name me,
AL
name
East.
me, name me two pitchers that you would put above Nolan and Wheeler, and I'll buy it.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to start by making the case for the AL East by saying that the worst team in the division last year was the Rays, and they won 80 games. They were 80 and 82. And the best team was the Yankees, 94 and 68. So there's just such a high floor of teams, and they almost beat up on each other, which drops like the overall win total down. But none of these teams is not competing in this division, and that's why they've clearly got the best overall talent among these two divisions, but maybe even in all of baseball because 1 through 5, I don't think there's another division in Major League Baseball where you've got the fifth place team winning 80 games. Is that true? Um,
Yeah, I would have to say that's probably true. The next closest division you have, I think, is probably going to be the National League West, but the kind of bottom of the barrel there leaves a bit to be desired. I don't think they're going to reach 80 wins.
and then what have the East teams done over the offseason? They've gone out and tried to improve their clubs, specifically teams like the Red Sox, who got Alex Bregman. They traded for Garrett Crochet, and they've got a whole host of young players, super stacked minor league system. Guys are going to be contributing to the major league roster this year. And the Red Sox look like maybe the most improved team in the American League. You've got the Yankees who they did lose Soto, but they went out and they got a Max Fried and a bunch of other secondary players
Cody
to
Bellinger.
Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt. Like they did things to um, they didn't just sit back and go with their as is roster, even though they lost Soto. They could have done less, but they decided to continue to improve the team. Obviously, they're coming off a World Series appearance. Very good team. Orioles are also a really high floor team because they've got this core of young players that they continue to rely on, and these guys have not even reached their prime. Guys like Gunnar Henderson and um, Jackson Holiday, who had a first rough go of the major leagues, but all in all, I think the Orioles are going to be competitive in this division because they have been the last couple of years, and they're returning all their same players.
Hold on. Something just went super weird. Start talking again.
The Orioles
Okay, cool. You're
also
good.
we're good. Okay,
Yeah.
the Orioles also they brought in like Charlie Morton and Tomoyuki Sugano to supplement their starting pitching, and then the Rays and the Jays. Those are two teams that are probably lower half teams in this division, but they're not bad by any means. When the Jays are definitely in a win now mode with Vladimir Guerrero and Bo Bichette hitting free agency next offseason. So they are like all in to win this year because if they don't, their executives are literally gonna all get canned. Um, and then you can never count out the Rays because they just continue to crank out prospects and they always surprise you, even though on paper they don't look like the best team in the division. Would it surprise anybody if the Rays make a playoff push this year?
Yeah. I agree with a lot of what you said there. I think that maybe where I'm looking at this division and I'm not as high on them as maybe I should be based on name recognition. Because this is definitely a division of name recognition. I mean, just look at the Yankees lineup: Jazz, Judge, Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt, um, and then you've got young guys that are homegrown for them. But out of those top five, four of them were superstars at one point with other clubs. But I don't see any of those guys performing to their their peak, with the exception of maybe Jazz. Like Goldschmidt's 38, or turning 38. Cody Bellinger is turning 30, and he's not been the same guy even after his rebound here 2 years with the Cubs. Like he's just not been the same, and I don't know that I am looking at their talent as what their ceiling used to be, or I guess what their floor used to be. I'm looking at their new floor, and I'm not buying it on the Yankees. I'm not buying it on Boston right now. Like, yeah, they have Jaron Duran, who broke out in a big way last year, Rafi Devers, and brought in or Alex Bregman. But after that, it's kind of a crapshoot of what are you going to get? Are you going to get Trevor Story, whose arm can't throw from short to first? Are you going to get the Trevor Story that was an absolute legend out in Colorado? With guys like Masataka Yoshida, is he going to have his rookie season again, or is he going to be more like last year? Tristan Casas, we haven't really seen it from him. Cedin Rafaela, really good young player, but not an earth mover as far as a hitter's concerned. Their bench leaves a lot to be desired, and those are kind of the two top teams in the division. I would argue right now. Baltimore, I really, really like the talent on this Baltimore team. Where I am concerned with them is just with the youth and inexperience of some of these players. We've not necessarily seen a sophomore slump from Westberg and Kauser, because, yeah, technically they both played in 2 seasons, but really last season was their first. So are they going to be able to continue their success from last year? Is Jackson Holiday actually going to grow into his own? I believe in Gunnar and Adley. I would be stupid not to. They've proven it multiple times now that they can do it. Um, their pitching staff does not speak to me still. It was definitely their weak point last year. And with Zach Eflin and Grayson Rodriguez being the top two guys, I think Grayson's going to take a step forward. But 42-year-old Charlie Morton, Dean Kremer, Tomoyuki Sagano, I think they're more just innings eaters. They're not guys that are going to go out here and win 15 games with a 250 ERA. So I like the division. I like the talent that's in this division. I don't know that I see it actually with the players on the 26 mans right now. I don't think I see it as being quite as talented as people expect it to be.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying, especially on like the Orioles pitching staff, which seems like a soft spot, and the Yankees seemingly having guys past their primes. But I think they've also got guys coming through like a Jason Dominguez and um,
Yeah.
others that can sort of backfill, and they don't necessarily need Paul Goldschmidt to be an MVP anymore because they've got other people to carry the load.
Well, in a piece that I specifically didn't say because it sort of poked a hole in my argument, is they brought in Max Fried to be with Garrett Cole. Like, that rotation has a ton of talent.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and I believe the rotation for the Red Sox is significantly improved this year as well. Bringing in Garrett Crochet and bringing in Walker Bueller um, to go with Tanner Houck, Brian Bayo, who got a long-term extension last year, I think, didn't he?
Yep.
So, like, this is a significantly improved division pitching wise. It's the hitting side that I don't like as much as I have in the last few years.
Okay. All right. Let's talk more like very specifically about the star power. We've talked quite a bit about it so far, but who are the stars here in the divisions, and who's got the better stars? Because there are quite a few.
There are quite a few. And I think I'm a little torn here as far as who I think has the biggest big three out of the National League East, because Juan Soto makes you look at it and go, okay, they're obviously going to have the best. And it's Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor, 1-2. Well, Lindor, then Soto, 1-2 in that lineup, with Pete Alonso right behind him. And Pete's getting a little bit older. Pete's a power first baseman. Like, part of his game is not going to age well. But right now, that's a great 1-2-3. Then you look at the Braves, and the Braves have Acuna. Oh wait, why did I just click on Arizona? That's awkward. You've got wait, when's Acuna come back?
He's supposed to be back in the first like month or so of the season.
Okay, so but yeah, Austin Riley, Acuna, and Olsen. That's an incredible 1-2-3, and the team around them is pretty darn good too. But your big dude there is Acuna. He's been hurt off and on the last couple years. He had a 40-70 season in the middle of that. So, like, he is a bona fide superstar. It's just how long is he going to be on the field this year? Is he going to be there for 130 games? Or are we going to see another 30 game season and him on the injured list with an ACL injury or something? So I don't know. It's one of those that I think the top end talent in this division is crazy. Like, some of the best players in baseball, the best shortstop in Lindor, the best pure hitter in Juan Soto, um, the fastest guy in the league in Acuna, that also has insane power and fielding ability. Like, what is there not to love? And then I think that we do have potential superstars in the making for the Nationals. Do they exist yet? No. Can it happen this year? Absolutely. So I don't know. I That's kind of where I'm at. Like, those big three: Acuna, Lindor, Soto, cream of the
Yeah.
crop.
No question. I want Acuna to be the superstar that he's been in the past, but I am very concerned about him because now he's torn both his ACLs, and that could fundamentally change the type of player that he is. I do not see him stealing 70 bases again or anywhere close to that. And there's other stuff that can be affected because the first time that he came back from the ACL, the first ACL injury, it took him quite a while. It really took him an entire season to get back to the superstar that he had been. And you can't always bank on that happening. Maybe we've seen the best years of Acuna's career now, and he'll settle in as a very, very good player, but I think he's going to be like more one dimensional, maybe just like power first, less speed. And um, I don't know. He his absolute max season, that 2023 season, the 40-70, I think that's gone. And that's my rebuttal on the NL East. But yeah, the Mets bring in Soto to add to Lindor. That's like an awesome 1-2 punch. of star power. I'll also mention Spencer Strider's coming back, and he was the best pitcher in the league
It's a good
in
point.
2023. So they've got that guy coming back as well.
So who is who's the top guys in the American League East? How did they beat a Soto, a Lindor, and a 2023 Ronald Acuna?
Well, you said that Juan Soto is the best pure hitter in the game, but there's also Aaron Judge, who is an even better hitter than him and a
Yeah,
reigning
eh,
MVP.
but he's
So
old.
we've got a reigning MVP, Aaron Judge, and then we've also got, um, I think, what, third place MVP, Gunnar Henderson, with the Orioles, a guy that, yeah, like he did all this as a super young dude in his second full season, and I mean, sky's the limit. Like this
Wasn't
guy.
wasn't Soto third MVP? Second was Bobby Witt.
Okay, yeah, you might be right, but yeah, probably top five in MVP voting. And then we've also got, we can't forget about this guy, Vlad Guerrero Jr., who is easily one of the top 10 pure hitters in the game right now. And this division has literally three of the best um, 10 hitters, I think, in the league. And I'm trying to think, am I missing any other guys? I mean, there's Adley Rutschman and Rafael Devers are also big superstars in this division.
So when I look at this division, my top three hitters that are there now, obviously Soto would have been there had he re-signed, but I see it as Aaron Judge, first and foremost, number one. Vladdy, number two. And this is a do or die season for the Jays. Like, they did not close the deal with Vladdy on an extension. They can still sign him back. They've proven that they are willing to shell out the money, but we'll see if they can coax him back. Um, but then after that, I think it's either Devers or you're looking at the pitchers. And Garrett Cole is the first one that comes to mind there. Like, he is probably still one of the best pitchers in the league. He had a down year last year coming off of injury, and he was still very, very good. I think it would be dumb to sell him short. I also think Garrett Crochet, now in the division, might actually be as good as he showed us last year.
Yeah.
And I I think that took everyone by surprise, him going from a bullpen arm to a starter and being one of the best starters in the league. But I'm buying it right now. And if he
Yeah.
does it a second year in a row, I think that instantly vaults him up into like top four, top five stars in this division, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, he has the potential, like on a per inning basis. There was pretty much nobody better than him last year. He struck out like what, some crazy 35% of guys and
Oh,
didn't
I could
walk
tell you.
anybody, and it was unreal what he was able to do for a guy that had never started before. Now he's built up, he's ready to pitch a full season, maybe take on more of a typical starter's workload, and sky's the limit if he can maintain the performance.
I did have one note on Aaron Judge specifically. Um, like I just I know that we all think Aaron Judge is one of the best players in the game, but I think people forget just how insane this man is because he has not played 1,000 games in the major leagues. He is at 993 as of today. So, but he has already climbed to 10th on the active home run leaders. He has 315 career home runs. He had 62 in 2022. He had 58 last year. Like, this is a man who goes out and mashes home runs at an insane level. He's going to pass Giancarlo Stanton's 429 through 1,650 games. it probably, I don't know, what, 1,200 games in his career?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like
So,
he's hitting a homer every 3 games, right?
yeah. So I want everyone to remember that about Aaron Judge, because he's been around since 2017, and I think people thought he was overrated for a while. Like, he hit 50 plus home runs in his rookie season, and he's hit 50, what, 4 or 5 times now in a season?
Yeah, it's unprecedented power.
One,
It's
two,
amazing.
actually only 3 times. But wow. But 2021 was the only other year where he was close to a full season, and he had 39. So that was also dead ball season, I think, wasn't it? Or was that juice
Uh,
ball?
21 was like kind of juice ball. 22 was a dead ball year. So he did his best season in that year, and that's like more evidence that Judge is insane. That everybody else had a down year for power, and he did not. He had his max number of home runs.
Yeah,
It
because
was
I think
crazy.
Kyle Schwarber was second in the league that year with 38
Yeah, it was like
or
38, 39, something
41.
like that.
There
Yeah,
might have been two 40 homer guys, Schwarber and him. But
yeah. But like just that gap shows this guy's on another level compared to the league in terms of power. I mean, Shohei's the one guy that can probably rival his game power. Okay. So anything else on stars here?
I don't think so.
Oh, I guess we should mention that the NL East also has a reigning Cy Young winner, right? Chris Sale won the Cy
Oh,
Young last year.
yes. I kind of
And
forget that he's not in the American League East.
yeah. Yep.
So another guy that jumped from East to East, finally after 12 or 15 seasons, won his first Cy Young. Seems like a guy that should have 2 or 3 on his resume at this point, but injuries were kind of the bane of his existence for a while.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, absolutely incredible pitcher, going in the same rotation as Spencer Strider now. With Strider coming back, you almost don't feel too bad losing Max Fried to the Yankees. Like, it's obviously it sucks, but eh, we'll figure it out. They'll be fine.
Okay.
So
All right. Well, let's talk about young players now, because these both these divisions are just stacked, full of good prospects and young players. Uh, what do you got?
now this is the one I feel actually confident in saying that the National League East, it might not blow away the American League East, but I do think that under 25 it takes the thing. Because so under 25 takes Juan Soto out. He's 26. So he's not factoring in here. But you have in this division, you have a fantastic young catcher in Francisco Alvarez. You have guys like shoot, what's his first name? What's Sprout's first name? Brandon? Braden?
Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon Sprout, who is a top 100 prospect in for the Mets, that's going to slot into the rotation. Fantastic young pitcher that everybody seems to be in on. And you have in Washington 3 guys. Actually, I don't know that 2 of them might be 26 uh, out of the 4 that I was thinking. But you have 2 rookie slash prospects this year in James Wood, who came over in the trade with the Padres when Juan Soto was sent over there, um, and Dylan Cruz, who was drafted here in I think 2023 um, as the number 1 overall pick. And these guys have
Two,
the
number
potential
two
to
overall
be.
pick.
Oh, number 2. Oh, he
Paul
was right
Skeens.
after Paul Skeens. Yeah. Okay. Number 2 overall pick behind Paul Skeens, and I believe they were both from LSU, weren't they?
Yes.
So, um, but these 2 guys have the chance to go out and win Rookie of the Year this year, and be that next superstar in the making, be that next Bryce Harper for the Nationals, that next Juan Soto for the Nationals. Not to mention they still have Mackenzie Gore, who I still believe in, and they have DJ Hers, and CJ Abrams is the other dude that I think can, if he can just be a little bit more consistent, you have a ton of top end talent here in this division, along with guys like Brady House, who have kind of fallen off a little bit, but were incredibly high level prospects, incredibly well respected young players. I think this one team just has a crazy amount of talent. And then you look at a Jet Williams, a Luis Angel Acuna, a Drew Gilbert, all with the Mets. You're looking at Andrew Painter, the number 9 overall prospect with the Phillies, who's going to probably be in the rotation sooner than later. And I just, this is an incredible division as far as young talent. And the Braves kind of don't factor in a ton to this because at this point they've pretty well filled out their roster, and there's not going to be a whole lot of changes because of how many guys have these long extensions. But they do have Drake Baldwin, a catching prospect who's probably going to be up at some point this year. Um, and they'll end up finding some young pitchers, I'm guessing, this year as well. So the Marlins are where that young talent disappears because all the young talent they do have is on the injured list. So, but I think
Yeah.
Connor
So
Norby is maybe the dude they got.
yeah, no, they're giving it a try with a whole bunch of different young players, and maybe something will stick. I agree with you on the Mets, pretty much exactly, because they are building themselves a real powerhouse organization where they can have both high level spending, go get free agents, and they can also develop their own talent. And we saw it with how well their whole starting rotation pitched last year. Um, Seemingly like scrap heap guys that they were able to turn into a really good overall rotation. This year, they've got guys like Sproat and others to. I feel like you
So
want to say something.
I do. What you're describing here, does it not feel a little Dodgers esque?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was getting at. That the Mets are trying to do the Dodgers thing, which is seems like the right thing to do considering how successful they've been, and they're doing a pretty good job. They're not there yet, but you can clearly see that David Stearns is trying to emulate the Dodgers and just their whole philosophy and structure in a way to where they can beat you from multiple angles and um, have all kinds of reinforcements to the team. Um, but outside the Mets, I think the Braves and the Phillies are really getting old and they don't have a whole lot of exciting talent coming because they've got such established win now teams. Even a team like the Braves, we've talked about their young core and everything. That young core is not that young anymore. Like they're probably getting into their prime years, or maybe in some cases, their guys are even hitting declines. And of course, they do have good prospects that are going to come in and hit like a Drake Baldwin. I mean, he might be the starting catcher by the end of the year, but it's not a lot. It's not like, oh, they've got this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy coming. It's like they're they're locked in with their core because everybody's under contract for X number of years, and they're going to continue to just rely on those guys. And sometimes when that happens and you don't have guys to backfill or push the incumbent starters, then things stagnate. And maybe that's what we saw with the Braves last year because everybody picked the Braves to win the division last year, and they obviously they got hit by bad luck and injury and whatnot, but it was not an impressive season by the Braves in terms of their core did not really produce like they did in 23 and 22, and um, that's like that's what I see. That's the risk I see in the Braves right now, and I think the same also applies for the Phillies, who are sort of win now, and they're even older because their core is built up on guys like Castellano, Schwarber, Trey Turner, guys that are in their like mid to now late 30s. And other than Andrew Painter, are there really big name position player prospects for the Phillies that are coming? I don't think so.
No, there's one top 100 prospect, or two, I guess. Justin Crawford, um,
Yeah.
who he might be up at some point this year if they need an outfielder. Otherwise, I'm suspecting it'll be next year. But they do have Eduardo Tate. He's an 18-year-old catcher, so he's very far away. But he's their other like big prospect.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's yeah, close to the majors. No, it's going to be a while. But this division is really being held afloat, young talent wise, by the Mets and national systems, and then some of these young guys who have graduated from prospect status. Like that's where this division is successful with their young players. So
So now I get to make the case for the AL East young
the
players. I feel
incredibly
like this.
old AL East.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's easy. You just look at the Orioles. I mean, the Orioles are just look around the diamond. They've got all young players. Their whole starting lineup. Let's just take a look here. So we've got 23-year-old Gunnar Henderson. We got 25-year-old Colton Cowser and 21-year-old Jackson Holiday. I guess everybody else is kind of older.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'll give you Jordan Westberg at 26,
yeah,
but and Heston at 26 because Heston's not had a ton of time at the major league level that he's had regular at bats. He's expected this year to get a significant amount of playing time there. I think in between left field and first base. So we'll see there, but I'll let you go to 26 because I do like those guys a lot too.
okay, yeah. Um, and then there's the Red Sox. The Red Sox have so many prospects, and they're not just this guy's going to be a utility man. It's like these guys are going to be they have star potential in Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, and they're very likely to be up, if not opening day, pretty soon after. And I think they'll just be given runway to go be a starter. And then, um, I mean, Roman Anthony is number one prospect in some outlets. Christian Campbell is a top 10 prospect in baseball. Um,
And then Marcelo Meyer in the not so distant past was also like a top 15 prospect.
yeah, his big thing has just been injury, but I think every time he plays, he's great.
Actually, when I
Um,
say not so distant past, right now he's the number 12 prospect in baseball.
yeah, exactly. So even though it feels like his stock has fallen because Campbell and Roman Anthony passed him up on the lists, it's not like he's a bad prospect by any means.
No, it
Um,
more just speaks to how good they are.
how old is Garrett Crochet, by the way?
Crochet is 28. No,
Okay,
20 under
he's
26.
25. Yeah, so he's another guy that goes right there. And
And
um,
same with Brian Bayo.
Brian Bayo.
I mean, if you if you believe in Brian Bayo, of course.
Yeah.
I feel like
Um,
maybe you don't believe in Brian Bayo based on that very
I
casual. Yeah.
I don't. I really don't. But I'm not counting him out totally because he's still young. And then we haven't talked about the Rays. There's one specific guy that is starting to become a very hot name, and that's Junior Caminero, who's just 21. He made his debut in 2023 at the very end of the season, just for like a handful of plate appearances. And this guy looks like he's ready to explode this year. He's going to be probably right in the middle of the Rays lineup. And this guy has insane power. Uh, I think that he he's like a guy that he's not really a household name at the moment, but he very well could be by the end of the season. He's got that kind of ceiling.
It kind of feels like he's gonna be the lifeblood replacement for Rosarena, because Rosarena was kind of the guy that Rays fans were in on. They loved him.
Yeah.
And it feels like Caminero is in a prime position to take over for that, I guess, lack of uh, face of the franchise
Yeah,
sort of deal.
exactly.
I
It's
mean,
not
of course,
he'll be a guy
you
that's
have
not
Shane McClanahan, but
but for a position player, right? Like because
yeah,
the Rays have a lot of uh mix and match, a lot of platoons, and those players don't you can't be a face of the franchise if you're a platoon player. You've got to be a regular, and Junior
what, you don't
Caminero.
think Jonathan Aranda is the face of the franchise?
I love Jonathan Rondo. I
Wow.
think the Reds have just kind of he's another guy that's what, he's just 25 or something, or maybe he's older. He's 26.
Uh, about to turn 27.
Yeah, he's
In
a guy
fact,
that
him and Aloy are pretty close to the same age.
yeah. The Rays do this though with some of their prospects where they don't really give them full-time run. If they don't feel like they're ready to take on that responsibility, they won't like push a guy into a role. But a guy like Caminero, he's not going to ever experience that. He's just going to be you're a full-time player from day one.
So I mean, the Red Sox, obviously, yes, I can't argue anything there. Um, the Yankees are kind of where I start to lose faith in, I guess, young players in the division, because this is a very old roster. And they do have some prospects and young guys like a Jason Dominguez, like a Ben Rice, who I don't think is going to be stellar by any means, but he'll be a good player. Um, and oh, shoot, who's the other dude I'm thinking of?
Wells.
Um, what was that?
Wells is
Yes,
26.
Austin Wells. Thank you. That is who I was trying to think of. Like Wells and Dominguez, it kind of feels like they're both good players. They haven't quite approached the level that I think people were hyping them up that they were going to be. And I mean, it's kind of the same thing that happened with Oswald Peraza and uh, Oswaldo Cabrera and just really any of the young guys that have come up the last couple years. Like they've been good, not incredible. And they were these prospects that were supposed to be incredible. And so I'm looking at them and I'm looking at who's coming up behind them, and I'm not seeing anyone who had that same billing. And I don't know if it's because people have learned or because there's a significant drop off between the guys who have just recently graduated from prospect status to the guys there now. Um, but I just I'm not seeing a whole lot there. The the Jays system is kind of depleted outside of like a Trey Savage. There's not much that's like potential high level young talent. I mean, Vlad's still incredibly young, but he's only got 1 year left with the Jays, and then we don't know what's going to happen. Um, I look at the Orioles, and they still have young white middle infield prospects galore. So they'll probably be fine. Um, but I don't know. It's so weird because it's like I see a lot of young good talent. I'm not seeing a lot of young amazing talent. Like I don't know that any of these guys for the Orioles are going to go and do what Gunnar did. Maybe Holiday, but I wouldn't expect that same thing from a Kobe Mayo or a Jordan Westberg. Like I think they're going to be very good players, I don't think they're going to be 8 or 9 war guys. And that's kind of where I'm at with a lot of the prospects in this division. The only guys who I think might be those 7, 8 war in some season down the road players are the Red Sox prospects.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I think that's unreasonable to expect a lot of 8 war guys, like, they don't grow on
Yeah,
trees.
but I think I see the potential of 1 or 2 more popping off with some of these young guys in the NL East
Okay.
than the guys in the AL East. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm not expecting every player ever to be the best player on earth, but I look at these divisions and I think that one of them just has a little bit better of a chance of having 2 pop as opposed to just 1.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm having a hard time, like, as we've talked through both of these, I see, um, quite a few teams that are win now, and just by nature of that, you're gonna have less young players, that are playing key roles, like teams like the Yankees and the Phillies. Those are, like, full-blown win now. We don't really care about prospect development. That's not what we're prioritizing here. Um, and
Well, and the
they don't
Jays are in
really,
kind of the same boat too.
the
Because it's
Jays
like,
are and the Braves are too. It's like
yeah.
a lot of teams in this division, both the divisions are in a very similar mentality
So is the Marlins lack of anything, is that the difference maker here then? Like that's what ultimately gives it to the American League East has the leg up?
for young players or
Yeah,
in general.
for young players.
Um, I guess I'm maybe higher on the Red Sox prospects than you seem like you are, because I think that Anthony and Christian Campbell do have that star upside.
No,
Um,
I'm with you. On the Red Sox prospects, I'm fully with you.
okay.
It's the rest of the division that I'm not buying.
Oh, yeah. Um, I don't know. I feel like they're close. I think it's kind of a wash. I don't have a strong lean one way or the other on the other teams.
Fair enough.
Okay. We got another topic here. So, playoff potential. So, what I mean by this is what what are the chances, like, for all the teams in the division to be making the playoffs? Um we know the Marlins pretty much have no chance of making the playoffs. So I won't, like, totally just go down that path and destroy your argument based on the Marlins not making the playoffs. But I guess for the other teams in the divisions, who has a real chance to make the playoffs? What's the likelihood of it happening? Um,
So even in a debate, you have to be able to acknowledge some of the flaws in your argument. And with this particular topic, I don't feel that the National League East has the leg up here. I think they do have a pretty big anchor in the Marlins. Um, there are 4 teams realistically that can make the playoffs in this division, and it's going to require a lot of things going right for the Nationals. I think I don't know what Fangraphs is giving the chance of the Nationals making the playoffs right now. I would say probably winning the division is less than 1%, and making it in a wild card is probably less than 5%. But there's a shot, is my guess of what they're saying. And if everything goes right for the Nationals and James Wood, Dylan Cruz, CJ Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, DJ Hers all pop off and have great seasons, this is very much a dangerous club. They have other good role players, Cabot Ruiz at catcher, and a couple other guys in the rotation that I think are going to be very helpful. They just brought Kyle Finnegan back, which is going to help kind of keep them um, somewhat intact there on the pitching staff. Um, but I don't love their odds. Now, the other three clubs, the Mets, the Braves, and the Phillies, I think it's going to be a fight to the top, like it has been every year. And because the Mets have just been adding and adding and adding, and they're trying to take the lead in this division and not relinquish it the same way the Dodgers did. But the Phillies are really freaking good. They just won a World Series here a couple years ago, or went to a World Series. Yeah, they
Yep.
didn't. They didn't win it, did they?
They lost to the Astros in 22.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. It's the Braves that won one in 2021.
Yes.
Okay. Um, but this is a Braves team that again is getting old, but it has incredible players. So I think we're going to see three playoff teams in this division. I feel fairly confident about that.
Yeah.
But four, I don't see it. And part of that is because the National League West is also an incredible division. And it's
Yeah,
going to
that's
be
pretty
trying to
bold
get.
actually to say that 3 are going to make it from this division.
Well, yeah, as soon as I said it, I'm like, wait, I don't know that I can say that now because there's not
No,
enough
but
playoff spots to go
there are
around.
3 teams that are certainly going to be in the hunt, and the one thing that might actually help them is having the Marlins in the division. They can beat up on the Marlins sort of like all the AL Central teams beat up on the White Sox last year, and that just improves their records. And it's just easy wins they can bank, and that should help. I mean, one wild card guaranteed is pretty much guaranteed is going to come from this division. The other one, there's a decent chance that it happens also, just because they've got one bottom feeder that they can
Yeah, but
prey
so
on.
does the National League West in the Rockies.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think both of these divisions are in a very similar spot where two from each of these divisions, absolutely. One of these divisions is going to have three. Which one's it going to be is a toss up. And then there's only going to be one out of the NL Central because they don't deserve anything good right now
To
as a
answer your
division.
question about the Nationals' chances, Fangraphs playoff projections have them at 0.3% chance to win the division
Okay.
and 3.1% chance to clinch the wild card.
Nailed it. Under one and
Yeah,
under five.
yeah. So not good odds. The other teams they've each got at least a um, 17% chance of winning the division. The Mets are third, actually. The Phillies at 20% and the Braves at 62% to win the division, and all have good chances to also clinch a wild card.
Okay. But now talk me into how the playoff chances the American League East is probably the division in baseball with the best chance of getting three teams in.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's would I wouldn't be surprised to see like pretty much any standings order of finish for this division. Even if the Rays won the division, I wouldn't be too surprised. Like I would be surprised a little bit more than any other team winning, but it wouldn't shock me. Um, the Rays really have good pitching, and that's something that I think is being overlooked. They've got young breakout potential candidates like Taj Bradley, Shane Baz, and then guys coming back from injury who have shown that they're really, really good pitchers like McClanahan and Drew Rasmussen. Um,
Ryan Pepio.
Ryan Pepio is awesome. Uh, you're not a Ryan Pepio guy. I gotta convert you.
I mean, I like him. I don't think he's incredible.
He's
I
pretty good.
haven't asked for his whip check yet, so that's a good sign.
Yeah. Um, yeah. They've got really strong pitching, and then maybe a Caminero and a Jonathan Aranda pop off
Or
and
Xavier
really
Isaac.
and Xavier Isaac takes Jonathan Aranda's job. And then um it's just it's gonna be a situation where if one team sort of underperforms, the other teams are going to pounce and they're all going to just be all over that. And that's the only thing that's going to help build some separation because the way I see the projections right now, the Rays are at 81 wins and the Yankees are at 87. That's an incredibly tight spread. So with built-in sort of uncertainty on all those projections, it's hard to really pick who's the winner going to be, but all of them have the potential to do it, and that's what I like about this division. It's just like they're so good. They're
I
all
make a
good
bold
teams.
prediction.
Go for it.
If the Rays win the division, Richie Palacios will be the difference maker.
Okay. All right.
It's my bold prediction.
That is really quite bold.
It is.
I applaud you
I
for that.
I hit Control B and then I typed it.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
And the Red Sox, another team that their their potential upside is not captured in the projections because guys like Christian Campbell and Roman Anthony, they're not properly accounted for because if they turn out to be stars from day one, the system doesn't know or anticipate that is actually going to happen, but it really could happen.
In fact, what does the system anticipate their just plate appearances being?
Oh, I don't know. Good question. That's a thing that's a projection system is notoriously bad at doing is getting plate appearances right because that's such a
So Christian
human
Campbell
driven.
projecting, I believe this is maybe Zips projecting 252 plate appearances for Christian Campbell. And Marcelo Meyer 35 plate appearances, Roman Anthony 371. And Trace Thompson is not projected to get any plate appearances.
Oh, poor Trace. Yep. Okay. Well, the Yankees. Um, I mean they're coming off a World Series appearance. I think that they even losing Soto, they've done enough to stay competitive, and I think they're the most clear favorite to make the playoffs from the division. Probably the favorite to win the division too.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean the rotation here for the Yankees is definitely going to be a huge boon as it has been the last couple years, much bigger than Aaron. Um, but Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Clark Schmidt, and then Stroman is currently slotted in as the fifth starter, but I'm surprised he's even on the team still. Um, but there's a lot of ups or a lot of high talent here in the rotation, and so if you have your Aaron Judge and somebody else helping him out, it's going to be hard to miss a playoff spot. And if everything goes well and you have Paul Goldschmidt rebound, you have Cody Bellinger play just play his butt off in Yankee Stadium, then you're looking at a team equal to, if not better than last year, um, in the grand scheme of things. Like it's a very real possibility that this team is better than last year's because they're getting more support up and down the lineup. Whereas last year there was support up and down the lineup, but it was very heavily Soto, Judge, Stanton doing most of the heavy lifting. So this would be a different Yankees team, but it's going to be hard to keep them down.
all right, so we've gone through our topics here. Is there anything else that we did not touch on for both these divisions?
Oh, so we talked about young guys. We talked about superstars. We didn't talk about old guys or bench players. Do we want to? I don't think it's that important.
How about this? How about any like manager impact that you think is worth noting here within the divisions?
So I think the biggest thing managerial wise, who is the manager for the Marlins?
It's a guy by the name of Clayton McCullough, I believe.
Clayton McCullough.
He's a first-time manager. He's a coach from the Dodgers.
Interesting. Um, I I think as far as manager impact is concerned, he's the guy to watch. Everyone else in these divisions is a known commodity at this point. I mean, Rob Thompson with the Phillies, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Rob Thompson with the Phillies has taken his team to a World Series. Snit has taken the Braves to a World Series. Aaron Boone has taken the Yankees to a World Series. Alex Cora cheated with the Astros. Um, like these are all known commodities. The Marlins have been cycling through front office and managers kind of like a lazy Susan. Just keep spinning it. If you keep spinning, maybe something new will end up on the shelf. Who knows? Um, Never mind the fact that you didn't go to the grocery store and there's not going to be anything new. So, but this is a Marlins team that has had a lot of young players, and they've had prospects in their system that were good at time of draft. They haven't been able to develop any of them. And if McCullough can help unlock a little bit out of the and his staff, who I'm not sure is who's on it, if they can unlock the potential of even one of these young players, I think he is going to be maybe the most impactful manager by kind of taking this Marlins team that has zero expectations. And I think a lot of people are expecting a 100-loss season. If they lose less than 90 games, that's a huge win.
Yeah.
So it is as weird as it is to say, the brand new manager on the worst team in the division is going to be the biggest impact.
Yeah. I wanted to mention Brian Snitker because he is like as old school a manager. He's been in the Braves organization for like some crazy number of like 50 years or something
Is he
wild.
Bobby Cox's son?
Essentially, yeah. So the thing that Snit has done with the Braves is he's rolled out like the same starters day after day after day after day. Matt Olson has never missed a game that he's been a part of the Braves in how many years? Like three years now. Um,
Yeah, he also hadn't really missed any games with the A's.
right. But my point is just um is are all these games that Braves guys have played, is that sort of catching up to them? Is that why they had a more little bit of a down season last year where their guys just tired? They've had deep playoff runs too. And there's a lot of science out there saying that load management could be a thing that actually helps baseball players. I mean, they use it in other sports like basketball and baseball is a grueling game from the standpoint of games every day. Would it really hurt to rest Ozzy Albies once a week?
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
those guys are definitely being abused like rental cars.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's not your car. You're going to put as many miles on it as you can, and you're going to get the most out of it. I mean, I've been taking a Mitsubishi RVR through the mountains. It's one of the worst cars I've ever driven, and I'm driving it through the mountains. Like, yeah, I fully like you're using these players ultimately as a means to an end. And so yeah, if you believe that this is your best player, you're just going to throw him out there, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. You're not going to go and swap out your car for something that just to keep some of the miles off or allow you to get an oil change or change the windshield wipers or just something small that could drastically change uh the experience. So
Yeah. I just think it's something to
did,
keep an eye on,
did
as
I
we've
really just
talked about.
compare the Braves to cars? Did I just do
I
that?
think he did. Yeah.
All right.
I think the Braves, we've talked about them, how they're getting older, and it's just something to keep an eye on because I think it matters, and um, it doesn't seem like Snit is really going to change his approach, but he would surprise me if he does and starts resting those guys a little bit more. Okay, so what's the verdict? I guess. Which division is the winner?
Clearly the National League East.
Clearly, it was
Because
AL
I
East.
mean, I'm the greatest debate person of all time. Um, there's a reason that I've been the president of Turkey for like 6 years. The meat, not the country. Just to clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um uh no, I mean the American League East is a tough one to beat here. And just the fact that they don't have a true bottom dweller is kind of in and of itself a testament to everything else we've talked about.
Yeah, no, that's a good point because pretty much I think all other 5 divisions have at least one team that's bad, like
Yeah.
objectively, like a not a good team.
Yeah. You have the Rockies, you have the White Sox, you have the Marlins, you have the
The
I don't
Angels.
the Angels, thank you. I was gonna say I don't know that I want to say the A's. And you have
I
the
think.
Pirates.
Well, I don't even know if the Pirates are. I would say the Centrals that they might have a little bit of a higher floor than some of the other teams because the Pirates are not that bad.
Yes, but as far as like having 5 teams win 81 games, there's only one division that can do that.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
the bottom of the National League Central is still going to be under 80 wins. They might be at 76, which is pretty good for a last place team,
Yeah,
but it's not going to be 5 teams of 81 wins or more in the NL Central. I can guarantee you that. So,
yeah. No, you had the more difficult position to argue, but you did a good job.
thank you. Thank you very much. Uh, so I think that is all we got for you guys tonight. Um, hope you enjoyed this format here, covering 2 divisions at once. We just simply don't have the time to be able to re-record an entire episode for the National League East again, because Gautam is going to Asia and leaving me alone. So um, we will be back. Are we going to be back next week for an episode?
No, not
No.
next week.
Okay.
We'll be
Uh,
back. At least I'll be back the weekend of the 23rd.
okay. So we will record the season preview in, is it 3 weeks? 2
3
weeks.
weeks from today, yeah.
3 weeks from today, we will be back with another episode. I will see if maybe I could come up with something just to keep people entertained. I know MLB The Show 25 is coming out soon, so maybe I'll stream that whenever I get back from Canada. Who knows? But we will see you guys very, very soon. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. If you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcasting app or YouTube to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. Join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Getaway Day Pod. If you enjoy card collecting, check out our sister YouTube channel at Getaway Day Cards.